All right, here we are back on the Bobby Carpenter show, and 3 days now. So I guess 4 days post-mortem. It's Wednesday. Hopefully we've had the funeral. We buried some things. We had the college football playoff rankings last night that we'll get into a little bit later. But Wednesdays are for AJ, and so we're going to welcome in our guy, AJ Hawk, right off the jump street, as always. AJ went down to the game. I mean, I was up top. I heard you were down there with my wife, and I know you love the game with just a lot of passionate fans who are going to spill their opinions to you and just maybe in your general direction. And just you, I know you really handled that really well.
Yeah, I mean, I got to watch. I was lucky enough to watch up in Tom's suite. He's amazing. I love being up there. But yeah, walking around the stadium, like in between, taking my kids to the bathroom, seeing things. People, I think as the game went on, people just got more and more nervous and starting to get a little frustrated, especially second half. As Schlegel has a compressor or something running in the background, I believe, but that's pretty good. I like that. Schlegel, this is a good organic situation. But yeah, it was a tough situation, frustrating loss, but that's what's kind of very, very unique about the situation. It's all still out in front of us, hopefully, and they can still go win it all.
What was your takeaways from that game, AJ? Just the play, the moments in it. Like we talked about on the show, the last time Ohio State gave up less than 250 yards on defense and lost the game was our game versus Penn State in 2005. But just go through kind of like your moments of the game that were very impactful, what you saw, et cetera, AJ Hawk style.
Well, I mean, Caleb Downs was awesome. I love watching that dude play. I like watching him like in between the plays. That's why I like going in person and getting to see like how the guys interact in between plays, like how they're communicating before the ball is snapped, all that stuff. I mean, I thought when Jack makes that unbelievable play and gets that pick, I felt like I'm sure a lot of people do like, okay, now we go. Here we go. This is it. This is our time. And unfortunately just couldn't figure that out. I know Michigan's, especially their interior D-line, I know those guys are monsters. They did a great job. But, yeah, definitely disappointing. You felt like there's multiple moments when the momentum was swinging in our direction, and then we just couldn't really capitalize for whatever reason.
At that moment when Jack made that interception, like I was elated and kind of jealous because I don't know if you could have, like as a defensive player, right, like a better script. You're backed up. You're getting ready. You've already stuffed them once. They try to run the boot on you, and you pick it off in the end zone for your chance to go get a win. I'm like, it might be one of the greatest defensive plays I've ever seen in that game.
Oh, for sure. I thought all of that right away. I'm thinking I was so happy for him, obviously, being a Columbus kid as well and coming back and all of that. But, yeah, like I started to, like, run down the list. I think a couple people up with I was around even said that, like, that might be one of the best defensive play I've ever seen made here, especially, like, when you take in, like, the time of the game, what the game is, all of that. Yeah, it was one of those things. And then yeah, just for I don't know. I had faith honestly up until zero in the fourth quarter. I was like, okay, it doesn't matter. Like we're gonna find a way to put it together and do things and get on the board and get in the end zone. And it was just one of those days, I guess.
So as the compressor goes, because we're doing stuff at the Armory, we're blowing stuff up. You never know what's happening. It's Wednesday, but here's my question, AJ. And again, this is different. Like this is new age college football. Man, that thing is loud. I love it. I love what you're doing. Give me that heat. Anyways.
Yep.
This is the NFL now, right? You have a college football playoff. You got 4 games. Losses happen. In the NFL, losses happen. Take us through your Super Bowl season with Green Bay. Losses, how that impact, what's the mindset of a pro?
Yeah, I mean, in the NFL, obviously losses happen much more than they do in college, and you can kind of weather the storm. But what was special, I guess, the year that I was able to get to the Super Bowl and win, we had to squeak into the playoffs. We had to win our last 2 games in the regular season, squeak in as a wild card. We had to win 3 games on the road and then go ultimately play against the Steelers in the Super Bowl. And we're lucky enough to get a win over them. But you're right. I think all that I cared about, I remember being in the locker room, I believe, when we had 2 games left, and I wasn't sure if we were mathematically out of the playoffs or not. And I remember the media members telling us, well, because we had just lost the game, they said, does it feel better knowing that if you win these last 2 games, you're in, you don't need help from anyone or whatever? And I remember asking, like, are you sure that's how it is? Like, that's how it all played out? And they said, yeah. I'm thinking, all right. I remember like not a sense of relief, but just, I got juiced. I'm like, yeah, we're good. Of course we're going to win these last 2 games. Yeah. That's what just give us a chance. If we know there's a chance and I don't have to rely on somebody else for help, I feel like, things look good.
So at this point, Ohio State, they don't need help. They're going to be in, and probably, I'm guessing, this is just my analytics, the Bobalytics, if you will. I'd say 85, 90% chance they're going to get a home game. You talk about that when you flip that mindset to where, like, hey, it's utter despair. You just lost. You think you're eliminated. Other things happen. You're going to get second life. You're going to get second life. You're going to get a pretty good situation, at least if you're Ohio State in the first round. I mean, being able to play and maybe have some redemption, I guess. It won't be the Michigan game, but for those seniors to maybe walk out of that stadium for the final time with a win, like what that could feel like in the preparation now over the next couple of weeks.
I think it's huge, and you're right. Yeah, nothing's going to replace that or change what happened, in the Michigan game. It's all so fresh to us. But when you lose, like, you want to get back on the field and figure it out and go and try to right that wrong. It's always like, what have you done for me lately? And especially the fact that you could possibly have a home playoff game, like that would be awesome. I can't wait for that. That would be so sweet. It's going to be nice, cold weather again. The first time that would ever happen, and you get to be a part of that and hopefully go and get a huge victory in your home stadium to send you on your way, man. That'd be the best.
All right, so now you got these Southern teams coming up to the North, right? Like, what are you, AJ Hawk, doing as a Buckeye? Like, you're playing now against are you wearing sleeves? Like, how are you handling the cold? Like, did you Vaseline up? Like, what is it that you're doing?
So I never wore sleeves in a game because it's never your arms, it's your hands and feet. That's all I cared about. Whenever it got really cold, I would wear, obviously, like, you could wear like the surgical gloves, like plastic gloves underneath your football gloves, and that gives you a little added warmth. I think it helps out a little bit. But I would get, when it was super cold in Green Bay, they had these like Nike scuba gloves. They were like a hybrid, and they were old too. They weren't new, and they were like spongy, thick scuba gloves that I wore when it was very, very cold. That was the best. And your arms, yeah, you could try to put Vaseline. There's like this new skin or different stuff. You're not some like hot skin that they claim.
Skin lube.
Yeah, whatever it is. And every once, I would try it all, but it didn't matter. Once you get out there 2 minutes into warm-ups, you're like, man, I am freezing. I can't wait to put my helmet in the sauna when we go in for our team prayer for 3 minutes. Like, I remember that's the first thing I would do. Put my helmet in the sauna. I remember guys when I was younger, they'd ask, like, what are you doing? I'm like, what are you talking about? My helmet's already frozen from warm-ups. It's going to feel great when I put it on. And next thing I know, next game, there's like 4 or 5 helmets. Then by the time I was done in Green Bay, there's 25 helmets in the sauna after warm-ups.
So you're telling me that you're the first person in Green Bay history that had thought about doing that before a game?
I don't know if I was the first person. People would go stand in there sometimes for a minute or two. They'd stand in the sauna in their full pads.
Before the games?
Like, when you come out of warm-ups, yeah, it just felt good to get your body going again right before you ran out of the tunnel, because sometimes you go out for warm-ups 15, 20 minutes out there, and you're thinking, man, I hope everybody else feels like it's this cold because I'm freezing right now. And then luckily you get out there for the game, you're moving around, you're playing. It's always a lot better.
So it's funny. Hold on, so I get that. What are you guys running, a buzzsaw over there right now? I mean, holy smokes. So it's funny with those gloves, AJ. My dad, that's what he used to wear in New York. He was, before like Nike was making gloves and everything else, they would wear those scuba gloves. I'll have to bring them over. I've got a pair of them still. He's like, man, these were the only things that you could wear back in the day that had any type of grip on them in the cold, because they play in the NFC East and it'd be freezing cold up there in New York and wherever the heck they were playing. So they would wear those gloves, and it's amazing that Green Bay, probably the last place that like still had any of those left around from like the 80s.
I was honestly I wanted to look to see if I brought any back with me if I had them, but I think there was so few of those even around that I definitely had to turn them in after each game, and I hope they're still using them. I'm going to have to text some of my buddies that are trainers there and see if they can find me a pair.
Find you a pair of those old Newman gloves. Remember the Newman ones that had like the liner on the inside of them? Find those.
I had, those are the first pair of gloves I ever had. We got one pair of the Newman gloves as a family for me and my 2 older brothers, and we got like double XLs when we were in the 3rd grade, because my dad's like, these things are expensive. We got to make them last for a while. And we wear them when we would have cold games for like 5 years, because they still never fit me. I never grew into them, but they were giant, and I felt like I was pretty special with that big N on there. You felt like you were professional.
So, I mean, do you feel like your dad like overestimated what your size and scope would be as a young man? Like, just like, maybe he underestimated your math skills, he overestimated your hand size, and trying to help you out a little bit from time to time.
Yeah, well, I think he was thinking my oldest brother, Burke, Burke was much bigger, and they're like, hey, these fit Burke. They will eventually fit my 2 younger ones. And unfortunately, they never did, never grew into them. So I'm probably a big disappointment.
Burke's hands are like meat paws. That's why, like, it's like a grizzly bear. So I could understand why that would be a little different. And speaking of family, since you went that route, we never got the wrap up from the Quinhawk Thanksgiving. How did that go? I mean, the conversations that were had, the fun times had by all, Brady in town. I mean, Jack, everybody, the whole crew. What was it like?
It was awesome, man. We had 40 plus people over, a bunch of kids, and there was no real incidents. No one went to the hospital. No one, didn't burn anything down. I smoked a turkey. My wife made 2 turkeys and a bunch of other stuff. People brought stuff. It was all good. My turkey seemed to be somewhat of a hit, I think. Brady said he liked it a lot, and I think I put that thing on the smoker 6-7 hours, like I actually knew what I was doing, and it turned out pretty good, man. It tastes great.
I love it. You got the meat on there. You smoke meat for 6 or 7 hours. I found out that you are a glove wearer because I always thought you were a guy that always liked to go into the game raw a little bit, even in the cold. So that's another thing that we're able to come across. And then I saw this. I meant to ask you this last week when you were on my radio show. I saw this Instagram that Ryan put out with him like feeding iguanas on Wednesday. Did your brother Ryan make it back, or is he still in some sort of tropical element?
No, he was in town. Yeah, sometimes I'll have to text him and ask him where he is. If I see him post something like that. But he was back in town. Yeah, everyone was in town for this Thanksgiving. So yeah, it was special. A bunch of different tables having different random conversations that you kind of jump into and feel your way through and see what's going on.
There we go. I love it. The Aaron Rodgers docuseries that's coming out. I mean, how much AJ Hawk are we going to see in there? Are we going to get a Craig Marks appearance? I mean, where is this thing going?
Yeah, that thing, it's like a docu-series, I guess, 3 episodes. Yeah. So I was around a few different times when he had the people there filming, and I did one sit-down little interview like the Saturday night of the Kentucky Derby when they were there following him around. I don't know if they're going to play any of it. I don't know if anything I said was decent. I don't know. I feel like I was pretty complimentary of Aaron, and it was fun. I'm looking forward to it because those people followed him everywhere. If you watch the trailer, you see like they're in some exotic locations.
Are you gonna be in any of those locations? Like,
I was not with him. I wasn't with him on those
stuff that we can anticipate. Well, why weren't you on those trips?
Darkness Cave together?
No, yeah, I think that was a solo. I'm open minded to whatever.
Head to feet.
I haven't gone down that path, but no, I think the darkness retreat, that's like a solo thing. You're not supposed to have a partner in there with you.
Oh, maybe you said you haven't gone down that path, which you didn't finish your statement. I haven't gone down that path yet.
Oh no. I'm just saying, yeah, I mean, who knows what's out there? We don't know. Who knows what's out there that could help us out in the future? You don't know. I'm trying to keep my brain sharp,
Let's get some peyote, man. I got you.
Well, they said, honestly, the more I've been reading, the sauna, AJ, is supposed to help stave off the dementia. And since you're a concussion-free guy, all that sauna time, maybe even the couple minutes pregame and putting the hot helmet on, you talk about the hot and cold. Interestingly enough, my man Cullen, my 5th graders, right just below your boy Henny, he's been wearing that little ice cap that you gave us about 10 years ago. I saw that thing, Ricky. I don't know where he found it in the depths of the deep freeze, but he just pops that bad boy on. And I'm like, I usually wear it for hangovers and headaches. I mean, he's just wearing that thing like after basketball practice.
Oh yeah, the ice helmet. I've gifted so many ice helmets over the years. Shout out Kyle Turley, told me about it years ago, and had some. I mean, I've mailed them out to friends. You remember when Andy Dalton got blasted a couple years ago when he was at the Cowboys? Boom, sent one right to Andy. There you go. Here you go, buddy. And I've sent them out, and we've had actually some of my kids' friends that have fallen and hit their head in games and stuff. And yeah, we'll hook them up with one. Why not?
Did you send one to Trevor Lawrence? Yeah, Pat, you guys send one over to him. He might need one.
We might need that address. Yeah, he took a tough one. The other day.
I mean,
charge of winning.
Listen, I love all about. Listen, you and I, we're all freaking linebackers and meatheads, but there's no way you could stand there and say, I was trying to avoid it. I was trying to do anything else. Like, my man threw a straight forearm right into his face as he was sliding down. A lot of times I'll defend the guys, and I watched that. I was like, hey, I respect it because he wasn't about to get a fine he didn't earn. He went all in, pot committed, and I think tried to knock his head clean off his body.
Yeah, the quarterback kind of somewhat late sliding. It's this isn't the end of it. Like, we'll see some more situations arise. I don't know how they're going to handle it, but the fact that he had that big old elbow brace on too, going right at his chin/head, that didn't make it look any better. But I think 3 games is a bit egregious. Maybe he appeals that and gets it down a few.
Well, I love that John Runyon is the other guy, the dude with the hairiest arms who I used to go against. He used to cut dudes late and everything at the end of the play. I think it's amazing the people that they have that are the fine enforcers now for type of play. I'm gonna leave you with this. Oh, we talked a lot about Ohio State early on. They're gonna probably have a home game 20th, 21st, probably at night. I mean, does the hawk fly at night? Will we get around the shoe, bringing the crew?
I sure hope so. We're doing some with Pat. We're doing some watch-alongs for the playoffs, so I would hope we'll get to do that one. I don't know how I don't think anyone knows how it's all going to play out yet. But man, can you imagine night game at the shoe playoff? Whew, that's going to be an atmosphere.
I feel like Green Bay. It'll be nice and cold up here, and everybody's dream was to get an SEC team into the shoe, and it looks like that might ultimately happen because people are like, are they worried about the cold? I'm like, who? Ohio State? I mean, this is what you've always wanted. So we'll see ultimately how that happens. AJ, we've taken up way too much of your time, man. You got to get ready for Pat. You'll put the ice cap on, get that brain locked in again, and maybe stand in the sauna, and you'll be ready to go. All
right. Sounds good. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next week.
Hey, thank you. See you, AJ. That's our guy, Mr. Aaron James Hawk, the Hawkalypse. I want to tell you about Export now. Talking about protecting your brain with the ice cap. You can also, parents, athletes, protect what matters most with X-Sport mouth guards, trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. X-Sport guards are scientifically tested to absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. X-Sport mouth guards feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including patented use of carbon fiber, custom fit to your unique smile. 3D printed right on there, buddy. That means better protection, better performance, max comfort, clear communication, so you can focus on your game, not just on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Visit exportguards.com/Bobby. Save 15% on your order. Export, protect what matters most.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be.
The Big Play Sports Network. Download the free app today to watch all of your favorite hosts on demand.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like... I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer. All right, Schlegs.
I'm back. Listen, it's gone. I can't even find the guy anymore. It's completed. I don't know. We're putting big cylinder pipes for HVAC through concrete walls. I apologize.
You didn't know that was happening? Or you didn't think it would make any noise?
No, I didn't even know it was happening. I just got done training, 10 professional volleyball players. Boom. Poof, David Copperfield sitting here doing a podcast.
Aren't you in charge, those Schlegs? Aren't you the one that creates these schedules?
Guys just pop out. No, I don't create a schedule. All of a sudden,
did you hire them to do the job?
I didn't hire them. The contractor did. But did I know they were coming today? No. Did I know they were coming today at this time? No. What am I doing? I'm here. We're adapting with poise. We're adjusting with poise.
Schlegs, you've always told me this. Flexibility is the key to air power. So we might need some flexibility, but what we also might need is to get control and talk to the contractor and to get the critical pathway of when things are going to be done.
Isn't this lunchtime, boys? Isn't this lunchtime? Come on. What are we doing? It's perfect time.
I'm amazed. Yeah, it's perfect for most, but we're out here spending some game, getting some things going for you. Pretty fun segment there with AJ. And
he's the best.
Schlegs, as we talked, the college football playoff rankings came out last night, and I'm sure we have a graphic of that we could maybe toss up there of the games and where that ultimately looks for Ohio State. And the reality is, you're going to said it's Bobalytics, but you heard Ward Manuel come out and say, teams that aren't playing have completed their resumes, so they will not move above or below other teams that are also completed. So, yeah, you might have Penn State and Oregon, they can move, and teams that are playing can move. But Ohio State, I don't think, is going to slide back anymore. If Oregon beats Penn State, maybe they slide behind Ohio State due to head-to-head. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I think we'll see how that all breaks out. I'm not ultimately worried about that. The SEC champ, I think that they're going to be above, and the team that loses, they'll be sitting there. Clemson and Miami could be a little bit of a deal, but I think you're going to probably be in that 6th spot, and you're going to maybe 7. You're going to get a home game, and that's going to be what it is. And so, changing that mentality. Obviously, the game is important, and it matters a lot. As we got the graphic up there, and as you look at it, I think a lot of that's going to hold true. There might be some swapping and a little bit of movement. I think Notre Dame's going to have a home game. The loser of the Big Ten championship will have a home game. Ohio State will have a home game, and the loser of the SEC championship will have a home game. Everyone else, they're going to be traveling, and it's kind of who and where they're traveling to will be what is interesting with that. And they say they don't want – Ward Manuel came out and said that they don't talk about having rematches, and that's not important. I don't want to see Tennessee, Georgia again. Put them against Ohio State and Indiana. Have them play new schools. And if you play someone in the 2nd round, okay. 3rd round, that's going to happen. But we don't need to see it off Jump Street, especially if you can kind of avoid it and they can massage it and they'll say whatever they want, how they're not trying to avoid it, but they can still avoid it and try to ultimately figure that out. But this is what's tough in football is, and I know there's a lot of people are still, they ticked off, and you're allowed to, people are in the chat, the comment section and on Twitter, you're allowed to want Ryan Day fired. That's fine. I'm going to tell you why I don't think that he should be, unless they come out and it's the most embarrassing thing you've ever seen in the 1st round, which I don't anticipate that being. They have too many guys with too much pride. And I think Ryan was honestly at his best after that Michigan loss in 2022 in that Peach Bowl with Georgia. And so their ability to kind of reshape the narrative, understand that there is new life that has been breathed into this team. And yes, some people have said, craziness. I'm talking to these national writers, and the guy that was on the show in Washington, he goes, Ohio State may have the most intense fans around. He's like, it may not be as big as the Yankees or Cowboys, but he's like, as far as the size and intensity, I was like, oh yeah, the concentration of people that give a crap, have a high GSF about Ohio State, it's big. And so there's pros to that and there's cons to that. And you're seeing the cons of it right now. And I'll never tell anybody how to feel. But I will also say that winning a national championship feels pretty good. And having a chance to play for one, having a chance to cheer your team on in a home venue, which there'll be 4 teams that get to do that this year for the first time in the history of the sport. And I think your school will be one of them. Yeah, you'd like a bye. You would have loved to beat Michigan. I'm not discounting any of those things. The Michigan win would have been huge. And nobody feels that more than Ryan and those players. And so, you and I being around them, you talk to those guys and you see it. But now you have to try to bury that a little bit. Not say it doesn't matter, because it's always going to be part of this story. And it's going to be a big chapter. I was on Get Up yesterday. I'm talking to those guys and how big is this? I'm like, this is a huge chapter of this story. It's important. It matters. But to quote Natasha Bedingfield, the rest is still unwritten. You still have an opportunity, Schlegel, to write the end. And I never judge a movie till I see the ending. And to tell you the truth, I'm much easier judge on movies if they have a good ending. And I'll deal with a lot of crap in the middle. But if it has a phenomenal ending and the redemption the way that I want to see it, I'm all in. They didn't stop Rocky in the 8th round against Apollo and be like, hey, you're getting beat up too much. No, you let that thing play out and see if you can go the distance. And so that's what you're wanting to see here. And if those guys, you can kind of lock that big face jaw that you have that loves to eat your mic and screen so much and try to push forward.
So I'm going to go like this. And yes, they're back. I didn't even see them, but they back. They snuck back in. I don't know where they were, but here's what I'm saying. Okay. You have to bury this. And I think this goes into, Bob, you and our experiences just in life, right? Trials and tribulations, the Texas game, the 2nd game of the year, our senior year, the Penn State game. We finished on a high note, beating Notre Dame, right, in the Fiesta Bowl. We go out and we start businesses. I got out of coaching, dropped my sack and attack. I had failures, man. There's failures all the time. You learn from them, but you got to bury it. It's not woe is me. It's not like a dopey face. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to go do work. The sense of not urgency, but just I want to get better. I got 18 days to get better, to put my best foot forward. to finish it the way that I want to finish it. I want to lead all on the field. You get that opportunity potentially at home in Ohio Stadium. That's what it is. And you're going to get a rematch, but you got to win the one. That's why I asked AJ about his Super Bowl year. You're a wild card that won. That's why I asked that. You're a wild card that gets in. You're in. And then now you go on a run and you win it. Right? We saw the Chiefs, right? They can't win on the road. They went and just won on the road every game. You can do it and rewrite it. And when you do, it is a blood transfusion. Guess what? That's all out in front. So them in the building, not us. And first off, second nugget. We don't play for Buckeye Nation. I'm just letting you guys know. We don't play for Buckeye Nation. We don't play for likes on Twitter or Instagram, right? We play for those in the room. That's what we always talk about. It's not for the hatred of those in front of us, but the love of those behind us, right? And that's it. It's the dudes in the building. That's why you go play. All the other stuff is ancillary, right? It's feel good, fuzzy. Those are feelings, all right? Those are feelings. It's not the relationship. The relationship and why you do what you do is in that building, right? About caring about, what the hell was Urban's quote that he always said that was fantastic? Love what you do, where you do it, and who you do it with. And that's so important in times like this. But I tell you this, you got to go in there, no dopey faces. It's over. Let's go get better at practice. Competitive excellence. Make me better. Because whenever we get Tennessee at home, we're going to go. We're going to go. And let the chips fall where they may. Don't talk about it. Just be about it.
And what's interesting with this is
and I'm talking just from a guy, right? And that, guys, you can take this from business too. Like, you're going to have failures in business, man. Like, we all have those failures. I just say, look at what you did to overcome there and succeed and go get another sale or go do this or go do that. That's what they got to do. That's the mindset. Boom. That's the chip. And that's the thing, man. Like, that's why we train. Like, that's why I go into that rep. It's a mindset that you have to have, man. So it should be juiced up. It should be energy. Like, it's over. I can't control what's happened, but I can live in the present where my feet are and get better for this next game.
So one of the things you brought up there, Schlegs, we'll get to that next segment about, loving the people that you do it with. Well, Charles Bentley had a tweet that was out about that because he played for both Coop and Tress.
Yeah.
And talking about that, loving them both and the differences in approach to the game. And that's those guys that played there just immediately before us or were seniors our freshman year, got to kind of straddle a couple of years of both of those guys and how interesting and unique their perspective is on everything and what that ultimately represents and what it means. We'll get into that here in the next segment after the break. But one of the things, like when those guys spilled, you could see the emotional drain that they had. I mean, you took your bucket, and this is like the old coaching adage, all this stuff, like squeeze blood from the rock and all those things. But when you take your bucket and you spill that thing, and you've been filling it up for a long time, and it's not like you just put a hose to it. So you're like filling a bucket with a sponge, like squeezing a little bit in there every day, a little bit in there every single day. And you dump it like that's it's exhausting to you emotionally. And so now these guys, like, they've got to be able to lock their jaw. And the good news is I think that they have the leadership to do it. These guys all came back, for three things: be the team up north, win the Big Ten championship, win a national championship. Well, first two are gone. You can't do anything about those now. But the last one still is in reach. So you can either say, hey, to hell with it. We couldn't do the first two, and so the third one doesn't matter. Or we have a chance to still go do something. It's not going to be the way that we wanted to get it done. It wasn't maybe the most advantageous way. And like a lot of these teams, these seasons, you have adversity. I always tell guys during this time, and we lost to Michigan in 2003. I remember you sat there, we ate on that for a long time, went and played Kansas State and played really well, and went and won a football game against a good quality team. And it doesn't mean you forget about it. You learn from it. You digest it. You understand what happened and why it happened, and learning how playing, coaching, all of the things you need to take away from it. But you learn how to move forward and to press on and like recalibrate. And it's hard. And you just got to keep filling that bucket up. And now my favorite saying is, and I think it's straight out of the Winner's Manual, Schlegs. I may have to dig it up and find it, pull it out on here. But the darkest hour is the one before dawn and one before daybreak. And you go through that whole night and you don't think the sun may ever be coming up again. And I know that there's fans that think that, there's players that think that, there's coaches. And then all of a sudden you have to find a way to get your butt up and you go do it again. and you just start stacking and you start moving forward with it. And so these guys seem to have that chemical makeup, Schlegel, to be able to do that. You would know as well as anybody being around them. I get a chance to talk to them and see them, and it's hard. Those first couple of days, it's forced. Like it's like, I mean, it's like opening up a rusty lawn chair, dude. You got to rip that thing open, and it doesn't slide. Like it's not easy. But then it's you start building that up, and you build the groove, and you start to see the mission, the goal, and the objective. And if it's all out there in front of you again, well, then you go try to sprint for it.
Yeah, and that's what like you just talked about, man. Guess what? Get some of that WD-40 spray and stay, because that's the best lube. You spray it on that Dumajink, and you just go, right? Because we don't have time to feel sorry for yourself. And that's what, like, when I was in there, and I love it, right? Like every opportunity, every lesson, every trial, right? There's a lesson that's involved. And the lesson here is, like Ryan said earlier, the game doesn't care. The fans don't care. It's the business world doesn't care. They don't care. It's about how you respond. How are you going to respond? Just like we were talking about feelings. Those are all choices. Response, that's a choice. And I'm not going to above the line, below the line shit. I'm talking about real talk. What are you going to do in that building? Are you going to be a juice giver? Are you going to be somebody that wants competitive excellence? Are you going to be somebody that's like, get in the face, like you either all in or you're all out? And that's good. If you want to be all out, go. That's why there's a port. That's cool. But those that are here in the building, we're going to go do great things. Let's ride. Not to still dadgummit, I shouldn't have said that because that's that Russell Wilson thing. So I'm not going to say let's ride. Go Bucks. Right. That's what you would say. That's what you would say.
Still got it, Schlegel. Russell Wilson, the wrestler. All right, we got more of this coming up next on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
The Big Play Sports Network. Download the free app today to watch all of your favorite hosts on demand.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like... I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. Welcome back into the show. We've had a robust show today. Schlegel is running around looking like a meatball. We'll get back to him soon as he's trying to avoid some construction at AJ on. Listen, we appreciate you guys following, leaving your comments. A lot of versatility in the comments. We're going to make sure we get to more of them today and some of the questions that are ultimately out there as well. So please like, subscribe, leave your questions, comments. We enjoy them all. Even if I don't agree with them, I still appreciate it. So we're going to start with some of the all Big Ten honors that came out. And this was kind of interesting to see the first team all Big Ten. If we can throw that graphic up there, Pat, and take a look at it. First team all Big Ten offense, Donovan Jackson, Seth McLaughlin, Jeremiah Smith. And really impressive with Seth because he obviously missed the last couple of games, got beat up, tore his Achilles, not the way he wanted to end. And Donovan Jackson, started at guard, then moved to tackle. And I think that talks about his versatility on defense. JT Tuimoloau, Cody Simon, who Cody played tremendous this year. Caleb Downs, who was phenomenal and also Big Ten Defensive Back of the Year, and Lathan Ransom, who has been joining us every Monday. You got the second team. You got Jack Sawyer and Sonny Styles, and I believe Jack Sawyer was first team on the coaches, second team in the media, and so he did get a first team All Big Ten as far as that. And then no one from the offense. Now third team offense. Will Howard, Trey Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, both running backs sitting there at Mecca. Josh Simmons, who didn't play a whole lot at all, and we've got an announcement about him that we'll be talking about our headlines. Tyleik Williams and Denzel Burke. And when you see some of this, Schlegel, and you look through it, what are your kind of initial thoughts of first, second, third team, where some of these guys were ranked and how they ultimately played?
So, Bob, as I try to do my microphone, I would say this. Not surprised by any of them. Donovan Jackson honestly improved his draft stock tremendously, just being able to be more versatile, because when you look at the NFL, there's always that guard tackle position. Who's your other guy? Can another guy go fill that? That's huge. Not a guy that's going to do that in the league, but definitely a guy that can do it. And he showed that, right? Then you look at Seth and what he did. Probably the one guy through the portal that increased his draft stock the most. Super proud of Seth. Everything that he's about, a Buckeye. He made some headway for himself. Where is he going to go? Could he be a third round guy? Absolutely. Coming from an undrafted free agent and being able to play the way that he did, now coming off that injury, what's that going to look like? But well deserved. Jeremiah Smith, we already know what he's able to do. JT, Cody, Caleb, and Lathan. I tell you what, guys. Cody Simon, and I love JT. I want to talk about Cody. Cody was behind Tommy Eichenberg, and Cody can play multiple positions, but Cody was the Blocko for a reason. Cody had the season, a career year in the 1 year that he really got an opportunity to do it. It's always been there. You had veteran guys. He stayed. They needed him. Guys, the defense has been elite all year, been very, very consistent, and Cody has been one of those reasons. And I am so excited for his future, and I'm more proud of the man that he is and the way that he carries himself. But then also the two safeties, guys. I've never been more impressed with a sophomore athlete of what it means to be a pro and having a pro mindset and approach. And it's not just how he recovers or how he trains, but it's about how he looks at the game of football, how he communicates, like being able to disguise. And that, you and I, Bob, played with very veteran safeties, and the ability to disguise and show too high and come down in the way that he can dissect plays and go, right? That's just an innate ability of finding the football, and he's a physical presence. But then you have Lathan, who honestly, Lathan is, we'll probably get to the comeback player. I don't know if he was that or he's up for that, but that guy faced a lot of trials and tribulations. And even last year, I guarantee you, like you and I have talked about this, Bob, even last year, if Lathan was in that game versus Michigan last year, we'd probably win that game. And just what he means to this team, the way he carries himself, I'm super proud of him. From a football standpoint, great. But as a dude, somebody that represents Ohio State well, those are the guys, right? I'm very, very proud of them. I thought Emeka could have been a second, right, if they wanted to do it that way. But again, the crazy thing about Ohio State and all of this stuff, there's only one football, and you got all that talent on the offensive side of the ball.
They do. They've got a lot of talent there, and it's clustered, so maybe nobody had huge numbers, and people acknowledge what Jeremiah Smith was. But we got some individual awards with those covered up coming up here in your headlines coming up next. All right, welcome back in.
Yes, yeah, we're here.
There we go. All right, we got some other some headlines with some other awards here. We'll throw these two up from J.J. Smith, Caleb Downs, Lathan Ransom. So J.J. Smith, as we toss this up here, Pat, also received Freshman of the Year award and Wide Receiver of the Year award. So best wide receiver, obviously, in the Big Ten, best freshman in the Big Ten. I don't think any surprise with him winning both of those. And there was some worry, like, would you give it to him? I don't know who else they would give it to in the Big Ten. maybe Tez Johnson out of Oregon, but I think JJ was by far the best guy out there, Schlegs.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but JJ was that guy. Wish he had some more opportunities in versus Michigan. He has been a staple, but he's been a staple, one, because he's a freak, but he's also around other guys, right? So you got to cover everybody, but man, just his presence on the field and his big play ability at 18 years old, just celebrated his 19th birthday, is crazy.
Absolutely. And then you obviously go to Caleb Downs, the transfer from Alabama, who has been terrific this year. Yes. He won the Woodson Tatum Defensive Back of the Year award. So another wrapping up both the skill position players for offense and defense with JJ and Caleb, which I think you saw right there. And everybody knows Schlegs what he did, his goal line, his part in the goal line stand, his part in the interception, did a terrific job. And then lastly, our guy, comeback player of the year, semifinalist in the nation, Lathan Ransom, coming back after his foot surgery last year, that he was battling through as Liz Frank, and, battled stuff this year, missed a little bit of time. But Lathan's had a number of injuries, came back for his 5th year. Like you said, Schlegs, last year maybe makes a difference in the outcome of that game, should he have stayed healthy and should he have been out there. This year he was able to play just about every game, and you saw that leadership permeate through the team.
Yeah, and here's the beautiful thing. I think Caleb made Lathan better, and I think Lathan made Caleb better. And that's what you love about competitive excellence. That's what I like about the portal. But those two guys were willing to embrace it. And Lathan had one of his best years at Ohio State. Super proud of him.
Yeah, it was very, very impressive. All right, we keep headlines short because I want to make sure we have enough time to get some tailgate talk. Brought to you by our friends over at Real Truck, where we answer your questions, comment on your comments. Coming up next.
Get the most out of work, life, and all your outdoor adventures with top-selling upgrades for your truck. Guaranteed fit, free shipping, easy install, expert support, and thousands of dealers just a click away. Bring your truck to life. Real Truck. Upgrade today and save between $50 and $400 on select Real Truck products. Visit realtruck.com/specials.
All right, it's running from Cyber Monday. We're 2 days in now, all the way through December 8th. Cyber Week at Real Truck, they're offering savings up to 50%, folks. Visit realtruck.com/specials. Select steps, running boards, bed covers, accessories, all the way through this Sunday. Learn more about it, the incredible gift-giving deals to bring your truck to life for you and your friends and family. And how about this? Don't forget promo code Bobby. Throw that in there. At the end, when you spend $100, you get the free Real Truck hat this holiday season. Realtruck.com/specials and get up to 50% now until December 8th. How about that, Schlegs? All right. Yeah, it's some.
My truck's alive. My truck's alive. Let's go. Questions. Give them to me.
How about this? This is coming from Steven off of X.
Steven is my name. I'm the most wanted man in my life.
Exactly. Well, that's from Braveheart. As a Browns fan, this topic is very hot now. With the style of offense that Dave wants to build and run, does OSU need to build a dome? We look so different in good weather, and when we get into a dome like Indy, would it be more beneficial?
Bumpy, that's a good question. No, you're never gonna dome you. It's just different, right? We kind of saw it in that Buffalo game with Purdy and Josh Allen, right? Like Josh drove the football. In those games, it's just a little more attention to detail of driving the football through. Do you have the arm strength to be able to do that? All those things. But no, you're never going to put a dome in there, right? You don't ever want to put a dome in Cleveland. Like, it's just kind of who you are. It's an embodiment that we're in the Midwest and, the black and blue division that is the AFC North. Same thing, man. We're in the mid-freaking West. Like, let's freaking go. You don't need to adapt. You just need to execute.
Yep. This one's from Jason Chrisman on X. Which was the biggest factor in Michigan winning the rushing battle, Schlegs? Here's some options. They had better play call and design for the run. Their D was better at filling their gaps. D-line controlled the line of scrimmage. O-line controlled the line of scrimmage, chunk plays, something else. I would say one factor, like their defensive line was much better up front, and we did not block them well. They ran the ball a ton. They had 2 chunk plays that kind of exacerbated that, the 29-yarder and 27-yarder by Orgy and Mullins. I don't know if their D was better at filling gaps. When your D line is so good, Schlegs, as you know, playing behind guys like that, it makes your job as a linebacker a lot easier because backs have to cut. They don't have a cut back, and so you can be far more aggressive at filling. And that's kind of where I saw it. Is that, do you see it the same way?
I see it the same way. I mean, really defensively, you had 3 plays in that entire game. I would say this, when it's I'm just letting you guys know defensive stuff, 1 back, 1 gap. And I understand you're playing cover 2 and you're kind of inviting the run, but when it's 1 back, 1 gap and I get a zone, that is an easy fill, right? Because like, I'm going to go take the double team or anything that's going to go up to another level. I'm going to go build a wall in a zone. It's very simple to do, right? Like I know where my cutback is. I know who have that. I know where my safety down or my help is. It allows me to play faster so I can come downhill. You saw the runs that did hit in the middle. That was gap or that was pullers, right? There was the one where I believe it was a guard or center climbed to the linebacker. It was almost like a trap. Boom, tight end back, blocked him. Seam, I think it was like a 9-yard game. Those worked because you got them you had seams, you had
vertical seams where you can weave.
You had vertical seams, and you had like line separation, right? There was multiple levels, and our guys hit it so fast, like that was working. But the other ones did not because those guys were so good. And as a linebacker, your job on that is to take the double teams off of your alphas, which is the tackles, right? And those guys were able to make plays. But then also, Bob, there were plays to be had where guys didn't win their one-on-one. And we can't also negate that too. Like some of the play calls that they had, I was like, that thing was wide freaking open. Guy got beat, right? And again, you can't be hesitant when you call a play worrying about if that guy's getting beat. Don't get freaking beat, right? You got to call your play. So I think all those things went into it, not necessarily linebackers filling, but I just think they're 2 guys inside play like freaking dogs.
They did. And like you said, running zone at them, it just makes it easier because you know where the block's
going. You know where it's going. Boom, right? Boom. I'm shot, right? Double team.
And when you're shuffling a bunch of guys, like maybe you have to run some more zone. You don't feel as confident running gap scheme and pulling guys and moving around. This one's coming from Brian Schlegel. What's the cultural issue on day / this class not beating UM? Is it different compared to Myron Tress or even Cooper?
Why don't you hit that first? I'm thinking about it.
You know, like these guys, there wasn't for John Cooper came out, and talked about like Michigan being any other game. You just got to find a way to win it. And people are like, he doesn't put enough emphasis on it. I think Ryan has put so much emphasis on it that now you've got, I saw this by Charles Bentley, and I don't think it was meant. It didn't come off as bad, but someone asked me about it. Like, Tress taught us to love the program so much that's why we fought for it. It feels like Ryan's more about, this disdain for Michigan. However, I think the guys, as you went and saw, like they really care a lot about each other. They love each other there. And there's a high degree of like fellowship and relationship with these players and how much they care about the university. So I don't know if that's completely true. Someone asked like about the games, like, well, I try to not, I don't see any general theme in any of the games. 21, it was a toughness rushing battle thing. 22, it was some big plays, letting them pop at home and like filling it up and a guy not making a play here or there. It's like 23 last year, like the early turnover, I think maybe not being able to get off the field on defense at the end of the game. And then you had some injuries and stuff that happened. And then this year I was like, I looked at it, it's like probably kind of a stubbornness to be committed to interior run, couple big plays on defense, and then the turnovers on offense and special teams were kind of a part of it. But none of the games I felt like had a similar theme as you ran through as to why they lost.
Yeah, that's a good point, Bob, because every game was different. Every year is different. Every team is different. I would say this from what Urban did and what Ryan has done. They're very similar. I just think it's, when you go into the game and the magnitude of it, that just comes from yourself, right? And like you can't let you cannot let emotions control you. You always have to control your emotions, and you play at this level, right? Though you're high and it's the game, like you still have to play like this. You still have to be steady Eddie, right? So I just think that might be something to look at. And again, at the end of the season, and I'm going to tell you this right now, you should not even look at that right now. Like that's the furthest thing from your mind. You're on to the next chapter. That chapter is potentially going to be Tennessee at home. That's the only thing that matters right now. After the season, self-introspection, why? What did we do play calling wise? What have we done in the offseason? What did we do leading up to that? That's when you answer that question. So I can honestly tell you, going through it myself, having been in there for 6 months, I don't know the answer to it. But I do know that it's something that needs to be looked at and evaluated because now you've lost 4, right? And so anytime that's happened, again, we talked about like rivalry dead yesterday, Bob. Like, guys, we won 18 or 17 times in a 20-year span. Let's not forget that. So we can come back, we can bounce back from that, but how do you do it is one thing that you got to consider, right? Everything. You got to consider everything. But now, to me, I'm already on to Tennessee.
Absolutely. Because you worry about that after the season. You post-mortem it, you bury it, and then you look at it starting the new season. How do we need to build this team? What does it need to look like? And how are we going to go play? Go ahead.
And it really goes, guys, like when I look at this game, it goes into the hidden yardage that you and I discussed on Monday, Bob. That's a lot of yards. It goes into I'm taking play calling, but you and I talked about it. The turnover battle, even though it was 2-2, we never capitalized on theirs. And the one put us in a bad position. You got to stop from the defense, right? Then you turn it over, and then they get a 2-yard touchdown, right? When they did their job, you held them, goal line stand, and then then that happens, right? You miss 2 freaking field goals, man. You're going to be up 16-10. It's a very different dynamic of a Michigan team that has to now play with some tempo and urgency, which is out of their comfort zone. We basically played into theirs every single time, and those 3 plays that you said on defense, Bob, they all happened on 3rd down. The orgy was 3rd down, the pass for 18 yards was on 3rd down, and the long run was on 3rd down. That was the difference because earlier in the first half, Michigan was not good on 3rd down. They got significantly better on 3rd down in the second half.
All right, final segment where Schlegel wraps the show coming up next.
Get the most out of work, life, and all your outdoor adventures with top-selling upgrades for your truck. Guaranteed fit, free shipping, easy install, expert support, and thousands of dealers just a click away. Bring your truck to life. Real Truck. Upgrade today and save between $50 and $400 on select Real Truck products. Visit realtruck.com/specials.
All right, Schlegs, final thoughts.
Final thoughts is just, we're on a Wednesday. Like, it's just a chapter, man. It's just another chapter in the story of the 2024 Ohio State Buckeyes and a small blip in all of their lives. But really, this is an opportunity to see what you're made of, right? How are you going to approach practice? How are you going to continue to be a pro? How are you going to approach the weight room? Those things, right? Because, again, they're going to handle adversity throughout the rest of their lives. How you handle it now is going to be a great indicator. So to me, in that building, it should all be about encouragement. I mean, again, boom, like you don't know me, Bob. Like they come in, I'm like, boom, like take a little bit of mine. I got you. I got plenty to go around. Let's get that rolling. That needs to be on the leaders. That's why I feel good about this, because I love the leadership group. It has to go back to player culture, which it is. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see how they can rise to the occasion. We got 2 weeks to talk about it, which is going to be fun. We got championship games. They can sit back and watch. I want to see how they take that chip, put it on their shoulder, go out and work, and play in that first round of the playoffs. I'm excited to watch it happen.
Hey, we'll be live at 12:30 again tomorrow. Stay locked in here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.